Grandma, look! Noah's carefree smile beamed through the tablet screen. In the schoolyard where they were practicing for the sports festival, the autumn sunlight sparkled on the trees that were beginning to show their fall colors. His pristine white polo shirt, navy shorts, and knee-high socks, the private school uniform made my grandson look even more dignified. "That's wonderful, Noah. You were chosen for the relay team." "Yes. I'm running the last leg. They call it the anchor. Teacher says I'm fast." I couldn't help but smile. In my days working as an emergency room nurse, every moment was filled with tension. It was routine to witness critical moments when patients in cardiac arrest were brought in, their lives hanging in the balance. But now, watching my grandson grow has become my life's greatest joy. These past 3 years have been lonely since losing my husband George. However, Noah's smile and Melissa's kindness have become my emotional anchor. After retirement, I had been living quietly in a peaceful Boston suburb. A call came in from Melissa. My daughter's voice sounded somewhat tired. Her usual vibrant tone was gone, replaced by what seemed like a lack of energy. "What's wrong? Work keeping you busy?" "Oh, well. New properties keep coming in." I detected a hint of resignation in my daughter's words. She had always been so positive and full of energy as a top-performing real estate agent. Lately, though, this hollow demeanor had been concerning me during our calls. "And Thomas? Is he home much these days?" "He's been working late a lot. A new project started." The silence embedded in that response carved worry into my heart. The changes in my son-in-law had begun about 6 months ago. When we received news of his promotion, we had all celebrated together. But after that, he gradually began to change. As I drove toward Philadelphia, I was lost in thought. My daughter's house in the prestigious Main Line area was indeed impressive. A grand Tudor-style mansion, a meticulously maintained front yard, a garage housing a new Lexus and BMW. They spent weekends golfing at the local country club and hosted family gatherings for Thanksgiving. On the surface, it was the perfect upper-class lifestyle. But true happiness isn't about material things. That thought weighed even more heavily on my mind. "Mom, I got new shoes." The shoes Noah showed me during our video call were indeed fancy brand name ones. But seeing Melissa's downcast expression in the background tugged at my heart. It pained me to see her trying to distract her son with expensive things. "You'll definitely come to the sports festival, right? Promise." After ending the call with Noah, I opened the calendar on my smartphone and marked October 12th. My heart was already dancing in anticipation of that day. However, an urgent matter came up the day before the sports festival. A longtime friend had been rushed to the hospital. I immediately went to visit my friend. After learning that their condition had stabilized, I felt relieved. I bought a Lego set as a gift for Noah, who loves them, and got in my car. As I drove south on the highway, I was praying for the success of the sports festival. Melissa was holding Noah's hand as they left the school gates. The cold autumn wind caressed their cheeks. Mom, you came to pick me up early today. Yes, today's special. It's the day before the sports festival. The warmth of her son's hand brought comfort to Melissa's heart. Recently, her relationship with her husband Thomas had grown cold. But these moments spent with Noah were her irreplaceable happiness. Will Dad come home early too? That question made Melissa stumble over her words for a moment. Last night too, Thomas hadn't come home until late. The unfamiliar perfume on his shirt. Suspicious calls on his cell phone. She had noticed it all. Well, shall we try calling Dad? Melissa sighed as she gripped the Lexus's steering wheel. 10 years of marriage. She thought everything had been going well. Real estate sales were climbing, her husband had been promoted to vice president at the investment bank, and Noah was attending a prestigious private elementary school. But, Mom, I'm hungry. Then let's bake cookies when we get home. Grandma's coming tomorrow too. Yay! Grandma Elizabeth. The car moved through the quiet streets of the upscale neighborhood. The fall-colored street trees were beautiful in the evening light. Melissa's thoughts turned to her mother Elizabeth. Though her mother had worked tirelessly as a nurse, she always put family first. Did she herself have that kind of strength now? Melissa pulled into the garage and stepped into the house. Thomas. She heard sounds from the living room. She had noticed her husband's car in the garage. Wasn't he supposed to be on a business trip? Noah, go change in your room. Watching her son run up the stairs, Melissa headed toward the living room. When she opened the door, her body froze. Two figures intertwined on the sofa. Thomas and a young woman. A small sound escaped Melissa's throat. The two hurriedly separated. When Melissa saw the woman's face, she understood everything. Rachel Smith. Thomas's subordinate. An analyst at the investment bank. Melissa, this is. Rachel stood up, cutting off Thomas's words. Her refined features were coldly set, her eyes harboring sharp hostility. Hello, Mrs. Anderson. We finally meet. Her voice dripped with unfathomable hatred. Rachel, stop. Ignoring Thomas's attempt to stop her, Rachel stepped closer. As she buttoned her expensive blouse, she wore a malicious smile. Did you know? Thomas and I have been together for over 6 months. While you've been keeping him tied down with family life, we've been. Shut up. Melissa's scream echoed. A vase fell, water seeping into the carpet. Mom. Noah's worried voice from the top of the stairs. Noah, stay in your room. At that moment, Rachel's expression changed completely. Ah, your precious son. Thomas showed me his pictures. He's cute. But our child will be. Stop. This time, it was Thomas who shouted. What are you saying, Rachel? The agreement was. Agreement? Don't be ridiculous. I bet my career, my future, everything on you. Rachel's voice cracked. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Having completely lost control of her emotions, she stormed into the kitchen. "Let's end this. All of it." The knife she pulled from the drawer reflected the evening light. "Rachel, calm down." By the time Thomas tried to stop her, it was already too late. "Mom!" Noah's scream as he ran down the stairs. Rachel's arm swung up. Melissa instinctively twisted away. A sharp pain pierced her side. Warm liquid soaked her blouse. As Noah ran toward them, Rachel's arm moved again. "Noah, watch out." Melissa summoned her last strength to shield her son. The second blade caught her in the back. "Melissa!" Thomas's scream. He desperately grabbed Rachel's arm. The knife fell to the floor from her struggling hands. Blood-covered Melissa barely managed to stay standing as she pulled Noah's hand. Second floor, storage room. Mother and son crawled up the stairs. Rachel's confused screams echoed throughout the house. "What are we going to do, Thomas? Our relationship, the company." "Calm down. First, we need to get rid of the evidence." The two frantically wiped away the blood trails. Thomas, in a panic, moved around trying to contain the situation. "There's no time." Through the back door. In the chaos, Rachel didn't even notice she had dropped her smartphone. They hurriedly fled through the back door. I pulled the car over to the curb and turned off the engine. The porch light was on. But behind the curtains, it was dark. Walking toward the entrance, I took out my cell phone. There was a missed call from Melissa. I tried calling back immediately, but couldn't get through. "Melissa?" "Noah." About to insert my key, I stopped my hand. The door was slightly open. The shadows of trees swaying in the wind and rain eerily illuminated the gap in the half-open door. Something's wrong. When I opened the entrance, cold air enveloped me. "Is anyone here?" "Melissa?" No response. The house was wrapped in an unusual silence. None of the usual sounds, the TV, kitchen noises, Noah's energetic voice, could be heard. Entering the living room, I was confronted by the devastation. A vase on the coffee table had fallen, flower petals scattered on the water-soaked carpet. The family photo frame Melissa treasured had been thrown to the floor, its glass shattered. My foot stepped on something. I crouched down to examine the object that had been hard to see in the dim light. A smartphone. Though the screen was cracked, the lock screen displayed a photo of an unfamiliar woman. Late 20s, perhaps. A beautiful woman with refined features. The next moment, I caught my breath. Small bloodstains dotted the floor leading to the kitchen. Fresh blood trails. Not yet completely dry. With trembling hands, I considered calling 911. But first, I had to check. Find Melissa and Noah. Melissa. Noah. Where are you? My voice echoed emptily. The same blood trails continued up the stairs to the second floor. There were marks on the handrail too, as if someone had grabbed it. Dark red stains marred the white paint. Slowly climbing the stairs. One step, then another. Each creak of the wooden stairs made my heart pound violently. The second-floor hallway was dim. Only the small display of the wall-mounted thermostat cast a faint light. The bedroom door was open. It was dark inside, with no sign of people. The bed was disheveled, drawers roughly pulled open. Melissa's clothes were scattered on the floor. Noah's room was the same. His Lego collection, usually neatly arranged, was scattered as if kicked around. The Superman bedding was torn, the pillow stained with blood. Noah! A cry escaped my throat. Then, I heard a faint sound. From the second-floor storage room. I moved in that direction, holding my breath. Stopping before the old wooden door. My hands were shaking. Sweat trickled down my back. I gripped the doorknob. The rusty hardware felt cold. Slowly opening the door. In the dim corner of the storage room, a small figure was trembling. A blood-soaked t-shirt. A face buried in hugged knees. Noah. Slowly raising his face in response to my voice. A pale face. Tear-stained cheeks. Trembling lips. And eyes wide with terror. Grandma. A thin voice echoed from the darkness. It's all right, Grandma's here now. Noah, are you hurt? Yes. I'm okay. I carefully approached and checked my grandson's body. Though there was a slight cut on his arm, there didn't seem to be any life-threatening injuries. Most of the blood on his clothes appeared to be someone else's. Where are Mom and Dad? At that question, Noah's body shook even more violently. Blue lips. I unconsciously held Noah tightly. Police sirens cut through the rainy cityscape. Elizabeth, still holding the trembling Noah, remained huddled in the corner of the storage room. It's okay. You're safe now. Elizabeth gently stroked her grandson's hair, trying to regain the composure she had cultivated during her nursing days. The sound of police climbing the stairs. Flashlight beams cutting through the darkness of the hallway. Over here. Responding to Elizabeth's voice, the officers rushed over. Detective Chief Murphy, a veteran officer, immediately assessed the situation. A young female officer gently spoke while wrapping Elizabeth and Noah in blankets. Are you all right? Any injuries? I'm fine. My grandson just has minor cuts. But my daughter. Melissa. Elizabeth gently restrained Noah as he tried to stand up. Let's leave it to them now. The paramedics will help. Amid the paramedics' shouted instructions, Melissa's face was pale as she was lifted onto the stretcher, her lips showing signs of cyanosis. But her eyes were slightly open. Noah. Mom. Melissa. Hang in there. Elizabeth instinctively tried to rush over but was stopped by an officer. We need your cooperation with the investigation first. We have to preserve the crime scene. Elizabeth nodded deeply at Detective Murphy's words. Yes. Now she needed to stay calm and provide as much information as possible. Surveillance cameras installed throughout the upscale neighborhood had captured the escape vehicle's movements. Elizabeth reported about the smartphone found in the living room. Rachel Smith, analyst at First Liberty Investment Bank. A surprising amount of information was found in the smartphone. Numerous intimate photos with Thomas. Scenes from company meetings. And explicit messages exchanged between the two. Officers moved quickly through the first floor, which had become an investigation headquarters. Then, Elizabeth's cell phone rang. "Elizabeth? It's Jim O'Connor." The voice of her friend of 30 years, the head of security at Philadelphia International Airport. "Emergency tickets have been issued under the name of Thomas Anderson, Vice President of First Liberty Bank. First class to Dubai. 1 hour until takeoff." Elizabeth's spine froze. And the woman? Rachel Smith. Business class on the same flight. This information was immediately relayed to the police. Police vehicle sirens cut through the darkness one after another, heading to the airport. Thomas and Rachel were waiting nervously in the airport's VIP lounge. Faint bloodstains still remained on their clothes. "It's okay. Soon," Rachel said in a trembling voice. Her luxury brand handbag was stuffed with hastily withdrawn cash and precious metals. "Now we can." At that moment, the lounge doors burst open. Officers with drawn guns rushed in. "No. This is..." As Thomas tried to explain, Rachel let out a scream. "It's your fault. All your fault. You promised. Together with me." Her screams echoed through the silent lounge. Other passengers watched in terror. Thomas's voice echoed emptily as he was handcuffed. Meanwhile, Rachel had completely lost control. "I'll kill her. I'll kill that woman." Meanwhile, at the hospital, Melissa's condition has stabilized. Elizabeth let out a deep sigh at the emergency doctor's report. Noah had fallen asleep exhausted on his grandmother's lap. Elizabeth quietly shed tears while watching her grandson's sleeping face. Outside, the autumn rain continued to fall. But the worst of the storm had finally passed. Several weeks later at the Philadelphia District Court, tension hung in the solemn courtroom. Judge Richardson slowly reviewed the documents on the bench. Reporters who had been following the case sat in the gallery. Elizabeth had her hand on her daughter Melissa's shoulder. Thomas Anderson and Rachel Smith stood up. Their once refined appearance was gone, replaced by orange prison uniforms, their faces showing signs of fatigue. "I will now pronounce sentence on the defendant Rachel Smith." The courtroom fell silent. For attempted murder, breaking and entering, and assault. 15 years imprisonment. Rachel's face contorted. Her parents turned away in the gallery. For the defendant Thomas Anderson. This time, Melissa stared intently at her former husband. For aiding and abetting attempted murder, and breaking and entering. 12 years imprisonment. Noah gripped his mother's hand tightly. Outside the courtroom, media had gathered. Headlines blazed: First Liberty Bank VP gets prison term for attempted murder with mistress, upper-class betrayal and violence. Elizabeth moved through the press, protectively shielding her family. That night, in Melissa's apartment. "So it's over now," Melissa whispered quietly as she sat on the living room sofa. Though the scars on her back hadn't fully healed, her emotional wounds seemed to be healing gradually. "It's a new beginning," Elizabeth answered while preparing hot chocolate in the kitchen. In February, a big change arrived. "I got an offer from the Boston Real Estate Association," Melissa began. "I want to get away from the Philadelphia memories. And I want to raise Noah near you, Mom." Elizabeth instinctively hugged her daughter. With the arrival of spring, a new life began. In the Brookline district of Boston. In a quiet residential area just 10 minutes by car from Elizabeth's house, Melissa set up her new office. Anderson Real Estate Consulting. Keeping her husband's surname, she began walking a new path on her own. "Grandma, look." Noah quickly adapted to his new school. He made new friends, and his smile returned. After school, he does his homework at Elizabeth's house. Sometimes, all three of them cook dinner together. Such ordinary daily moments had become their irreplaceable happiness. "Mom, thank you." One night, Melissa said to Elizabeth, "If you hadn't come that day." That's what fate is all about. Elizabeth smiled. She had been lonely too since her husband George passed away. But now, every day was fulfilling. A year had passed since the incident. Say cheese. A family photo session was taking place in a Brookline park. Elizabeth, Melissa, and Noah smiled with the autumn foliage as their backdrop. "Ms. Anderson, your next property viewing appointment has been scheduled." Melissa's real estate office had already gained a reputation in Boston. In particular, her focus on supporting single mothers had resonated with many people. Meanwhile, Thomas, serving his sentence, had been fired from his company and lost all his assets. Rachel was suffering from mental illness and spent her days in the prison infirmary. "Hey, how about going for a picnic after church this Sunday?" One evening, Melissa suggested in Elizabeth's kitchen. "Yay! I'll help make the sandwiches." Noah jumped up and down excitedly. Outside the window, the sunset cast a fiery glow. Elizabeth quietly watched this scene. After every storm, morning always comes. And a new day begins. "Well, shall we start preparing dinner?" At Elizabeth's voice, the family gathered in the kitchen. The warm aroma of dinner enveloped their happy home.